Hey guys, what's going on? It's Gunnar, welcome back. So as we're kind of full swing into the habitat improvement season now, it's early February, everybody's kind of planning for what we want to attack for next season. How can we make our land better? How can we improve it? And on the last few recent videos, I've been talking about something called depth of cover. Now, this is a super important aspect of holding deer on your property. Depth of cover is what creates that long feeling, that secure, long forever feeling when a deer is bedded up in your timber. The best way I've heard this term described is by saying, if I were to draw my bow back and aim it at you, you were 10 yards away, I was aiming at you, it'd feel pretty scary, right? But now you put some objects in between that. Say you put a chair in between me and you, it'd be a little less scary. You keep stacking things in between me and you, me holding my bow and you just standing there, it gets less frightening the more objects are in the way, right? So that's how depth of cover, that's how I'm gonna describe it here. So when we're thinking about deer bedding, we need side cover, right? I've been talking all about side cover and how to increase side cover, why it's so important, because deer don't tolerate pressure. Cover and distance are the same thing when it comes to security cover for deer. What they lack in cover, they make up for in distance. So if there's a lack of cover, I can see 50, 100 yards through the timber, deer are just gonna double their distance from that food source that they're feeding on continuously throughout that night, right? So jumping right in here to this diagram is, here's your food source. Here is my destination food source that all of these deer are gravitating to. This is my form of cover right here. This big circle is my cover. Does get that first form of security to the food source because they're top priority. For the species to survive, the does need to survive, and therefore the fawns need to survive. So they're top priority. They always are going to take up that first good cover next to the food source. So that's something we got to remember is if you only have a little bit of good cover right next to your food source, there's no place for the bucks to stay. So that's another thing we got to remember here is does first, then bucks. So creating this depth of cover, we need to have good habitat throughout this entire bedding area. This whole bedding area, we need to create depth through here, meaning lots of side cover, lots of daytime browse, native regeneration. Because if from where the does are bedding, I can see 100 yards, that's not gonna hold a lot of deer. Deer need side cover and sanctuary. So creating a lot of side cover and breaking up this entire bedding area is so important. Guys, it's Gunnar. Look, if you like the video, like what you're seeing, but you still need more help, shoot me a message. I'll help you with whatever you need. I got your back for life. Now let's get back to the video. Now this can be broken up in different ways. Topography is a huge form of cover when it comes to hunting in hills, like I am here in Southwest Wisconsin. Topography can hide deer all over the place. We got deep ditches, ravines, big knobs, points that these deer can hide in. But when we're talking about flatland, that's when this becomes really important. Side cover is so important because you don't have the topography to make up for lack of side cover. Basically, we need to break this up. We need to make this like a maze. We need to make these deer feel like this is 10 times bigger than it is. That's how you create that depth, and that's how you hold more deer. Because if this is wide open, I might have a doe family group here and here, long ways away from each other. So they can separate, so they don't feel that anxiety, that pressure of having other deer right next to them and they can see them and they don't feel secure. But if I have a bunch of screening cover, breaking this up in pockets, I might have one here, here, here. I can hold way more deer when I have little pockets of cover, breaking these deer up and separating them. So now I've made this little 2-acre chunk or whatever it is feel like 10 acres. I've doubled the carrying capacity of this by separating it and creating a bunch of different little quadrants within this with side cover by promoting native regen using timber stand improvement or what have you. Same thing when it comes to bucks back here. When we make this really big, does don't get pushed back into here. Does don't create distance where they lack side cover. So we're not utilizing any of the buck bedding areas holding does because they have adequate side cover here. They have good quality habitat right where they want to be next to that food source. Now we have room for bucks. Now the bucks don't feel that herd social pressure that I talked about last week that keeps them from bedding on your property. Now we have adequate space for bucks, we have adequate space for does, and now we have plenty of room for bucks. Now I can create side cover within this as well. I can section this off and I can make a lot of different improvements there, create a lot of different pockets of side cover, space these bucks out. In reality, they're not that far apart, but they feel like it because they have this side cover. So if you want to double or quadruple the carrying capacity of your property, we need to create large amounts of side cover to spread these deer out and make them feel spread out. In reality, they're not, but we need to make them feel that so they don't have that herd social pressure and they're not forced to use distance as their form of cover. They have adequate cover. Now they're shrinking this movement up because they feel secure. So what I'm talking about here is cover is replaced with distance if the cover is not adequate. So if you can walk through your woods and see 40, 50 yards, no problem, there's probably a lack of cover there. Now, there can be some exceptions when it comes to this if you have steep topography and good topography. Along with that, there's exceptions. Deer will tolerate a little bit of lack of side cover for good topography and good rolling hill features. But let's just go ahead and make this all better by creating the side cover on top of that. That's gonna shrink this movement up even more. So number one is we've gotta have adequate side cover throughout our bedding area so we can hold the greatest number of deer we possibly can. And then we have to analyze this and make sure it's native regeneration. Because if we have a bunch of invasives in there, buckthorn, autumn olive, great for side cover, really good heavy cover there, but it's virtually useless for native browse. These deer are not gonna feed within their bedding areas on buckthorn and autumn olive. Now, there is exceptions. I found a couple pieces of buckthorn the other day that have been browsed, but that's not preferred browse for a deer. So when we're talking about creating side cover, when we open this canopy and start creating side cover, we need to make sure that we're promoting native regeneration. And if we need to go in and remove some invasives, let's do that immediately so we don't have a problem down the road. Because invasive side cover that doesn't provide any browsing value is useless. That's one of my winter projects, is removing buckthorn and autumn olive. When it greens up in the springtime, I'm gonna go in there, I'm gonna torch kill a lot of this buckthorn and this autumn olive. Anything less than 2 inches you can torch kill. It'll take roughly 5 seconds on each plant and you'll kill it. That's part of what my spring winter project is gonna be, is removing invasives, promoting native regeneration so these deer have high quality browse along with good quality side cover. So depth of cover means depth within your bedding area. Making it feel much larger than it actually is. I guarantee you're gonna hold far more deer to hunt next fall. Guys, it's Gunnar. Look, if you like this video, if it helped you at all, like, share, subscribe. It helps me a ton. We'll spread the message. Let's blow this thing up. Also, check me out on Instagram, Gunnar_Hanson, GUNNAR_HANSON. Remember, results are the only thing that matters. Let's get them.